Welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Shively, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and I'm on a 1 million pound mission. Now, I've personally lost over 100 pounds, and I've applied what I've learned from my own transformation journey to help my hometown clients lose over 35,000 pounds in just 5 years. Now I'm on a mission to produce over 1 million pounds of results by delivering my best weekly tips, motivation, inspirational stories, and transformation strategies so that you can gain clarity about what you need to do to reach your goals and give you the confidence to take action. And the perfect time to start taking action is right now. So let's do this. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Million Pound Mission Podcast. How's it going out there, everybody? It's your buddy Adam, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and this is episode number 171, Decoding Your Digestion with Wade Lightheart. And before we dive into this one, I want to give a quick shout out to this week's sponsor, theultrahuman.net. If you guys are using, or especially if you've never used any intra-workout nutrition, I've got a recommendation for you today, and that is their amino code product. It is the first time I've used a branched chain amino acid and essential amino acid blend together as my intra-workout nutrition. That's the nutrition that you put in your body while you work out. It's a nice, easy to digest workout drink that you drink. There's no stimulants in there at all. There's no caffeine or anything like that. And you get an excellent workout. I've noticed an improvement in my recovery, and I want you to check it out. Check out the dragonberry flavor. It is off the hook. It's so good, and I always want more. So check them out at theultrahuman.net. Use the promo code MPM as in Million Pound Mission, MPM10, and get 10% off. Now, let's talk about digestion, all right? Optimal digestion is a topic that we should all want to learn more about, right? Because clean eating doesn't do us any dang good if our body isn't able to break down that food into usable nutrients. And all right, raise your hand out there. How many of you out there deal with bloating issues after you eat or even before you eat, just random bloating? All right, and then how many of you go more than a day without pooping? All right, I said it, pooping. How many of you go? I know people that talk to me and they're like, Adam, it's been a solid week since I pooped. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're just now telling me this? We should be going every day, and you're not going to believe the recommendation that Wade actually makes in this episode with how many times we should be going. So speaking of Wade, today I'm bringing digestive expert Wade T. Lightheart on to help us get our digestive system functioning optimally. Now, a little bit about Wade. Wade is a 3-time all-natural national bodybuilding champion. He's advisor to the American Anti-Cancer Institute and director of education at BiOptimizers Nutrition, which is one of the world's most innovative nutritional supplement companies. He gave me some samples of their products. Holy cow, they're awesome. I'm trying their digestive enzymes and their probiotic and their HCl product. I've been using that with Wade's recommendation that he makes within the episode. And big difference, less bloating, better digestion, and more pooping, more bowel movements. I'll use the correct term, bowel movements. It's not as much fun as saying pooping though. All right. So in this episode, I want you guys to listen to Wade and I as we discuss things like the breakthrough moment where things started to shift for Wade in his pursuit of deeper levels of knowledge about how the human body works. This guy's fascinated with the human body, and obviously the digestive system, and his story of his wake-up call that he had is really, really interesting. We also talk about how we are all messing up our digestive system and how we can start fixing it. We talk about the differences between prebiotics, probiotics, and digestive enzymes. That's an area that I am even super confused about, and Wade just delivered with some clarity on those issues. And these are things we need to be investing some time in learning about. So you're going to love that part. And then we also talk about how we can apply his awesome health system to fix our digestion and achieve optimal health. You're going to love this episode. Wade and I have a similar mojo about us. We're both very positive, high energy people. I think you're going to love this conversation. So without further delay, let's go to episode number 171, Decoding Your Digestion with Wade Lightheart. All right, Wade, welcome to the Million Pound Mission podcast. How are we doing today, my friend?
Great to be here, Adam. Thanks for having me on board.
Well, I'm psyched. I think your mojo combined with my mojo is going to be a whole new level of awesome. As we're both a fan of that word, awesome. We'll get into that later. But I wanted to kind of start off with a little bit about your story, because I know you're somebody that's been involved in health and fitness for a long time. You're a competitive bodybuilder, but there was a moment when things started to shift, where your mindset shifted, your pursuit of a deeper level of knowledge about how the human body worked. You hit a moment when things started to change. So take us back there and let's start the story from that point.
Sure. So we go back to 2003. I had been dieting and preparing using a bodybuilding formula for years, and I had was competing at the Mr. Universe contest. And after that contest, I gained 42 pounds of fat and water in 11 weeks. Like, I just went from Mr. Universe to Mr. Marshmallow. And, I thought I was doing everything right. I had the right coaches. I had all these sort of things. And I was, I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I met a doctor, and I said to him, "Doc, what's going on with me?" And he says, "Wade, you learned to build the body from the outside in. You haven't learned to build the body from the inside out." And I made the classic mistake that a lot of people do, and that was I thought fitness and health were the same thing. So we, in our society, we admire athletes. We see them as very fit people, low body fat levels, high muscularity, ability to jump, run, whatever that happens to be with the sport relatives. But that doesn't necessarily mean they were healthy. So I was fit, but I wasn't healthy, and that's what triggered kind of a renaissance. I always say, every challenge that you get is an invitation from the universe or divinity to say, "Hey, man, it's time to ramp it up to the next level." And I took it as an opportunity, and I learned to rebuild myself from the inside out, starting with like digestion, because I had just messed up my digestion from the food that I've been eating for so many years.
Let's start right there then. So the digestive health issue, it's so confusing. Like, there's so much information out there. I get people asking me questions about it all the time. So let's start there with just your journey into learning how the digestive system works and what you started to implement to fix your own issue.
Yeah, was so happy to do that. So first and foremost, you've heard the old saying, "You are what you eat."
Correct.
Right? Well, that's actually not accurate, because you are what you eat, absorb, utilize, and ultimately you better make sure that you eliminate what's left over. And it's a single canal from mouth to your bum, and that food is inside you, but it's not inside your muscles, it's not inside your organs, it's not inside your brain. And there is a complex process that is involved in digestion. And the digestive system has its own brain. In other words, it'll run even if you cut all the nerves off to it. We have a gut feeling. It's a pretty amazing system. It's one of the only organs that'll do that. So digestion starts in the mouth when you start chewing. How you chew your food is a big factor. Most people are gulpers. I'm one of those guys. I have to really be conscious of that, right? I'm a gulper because I'm always in a rush or something. And then it goes down the esophageal canal. And when it goes to the upper cardiac portion of the stomach, so there's two stages when it goes into your stomach. The first stage is where the enzymes present in the food are supposed to digest the food. Now, here's the thing. Humans are the only species on the planet that cooks their food. And because we cook our food, we cook all the enzymes out of it. So our body has to manufacture enzymes, and that has a metabolic cost. Long term, it leads to other problems, but we'll get into that in a little. So it comes down to the upper cardiac portion of the stomach. And then after about 30 to 60 minutes, the hydrochloric acid comes in. Now, what happens, and I was experiencing things like acid reflux and edema and all these things that you wouldn't think an athlete is supposed to experience. Right. But what was happening is I wasn't producing enough acid to get my food, and that's causing this little flap not to close. It's called the esophageal sphincter flap. So I'm getting acid splashing up in my esophagus. So people who are on that are taking medications for too much acid, it's actually they have too little. It's the opposite of what people think, and people don't know that. So they're trying to block that when they need to produce more acid to break down the food. Then it travels out of the stomach into the intestinal tract. Your body produces minerals. that buffer the acids, it neutralizes it, and then you have probiotics inside the intestinal tract that finish breaking down the food and carry that across the barrier into your system, and then through peristaltic contraction, you eliminate the waste. So the issue is there's three particular areas where people run into problem. Number one, they don't have enough enzymes, which is pretty common. Number two, they're not producing enough hydrochloric acid, particularly as you get older, and that leaves you more susceptible to infections and viruses and bacteria. And then number three, they don't have what's called the right flora in their microbiome. So that's what was my situation. So I addressed it on all three levels, and in just a short order, it corrected my digestion, got right back into contest shape again, like within 6 months. But the difference was I felt amazing, where before I felt terrible dieting. This time I had lots of energy. I felt great. I felt really clear in my head. And I was like, okay, I need to teach this to people, because there's so many people out there suffering from digestive issues and they don't know.
Right. So what is the average person doing wrong that's messing all this up? Like, are we eating the wrong things? Are we not putting the right things in our body? You know, is it stress? Is it just genetics? What are the factors that are helping us mess this thing up?
Great question. Well, it's all of the above, and it'll manifest in different people. Number one, people tend to eat in a rush. So they eat kind of big chunks of food or driving in their car, or watching on their phone. So they're not in a calm, relaxed state when they're eating their food. That's one thing, and that puts you in a fight or flight mode. And that can affect their production of cortisol and biochemical stuff, which puts stress on the system. Number two, we almost always eat cooked food. And so if I'm a tiger and I eat zebras, when I eat the zebra in a raw state and I absorb all the enzymes. Enzymes are the chemical agent that's the difference between the living and the dead. Every living organism, whether it's plants or animals, have that. If I'm a cow and I eat grass, I get the enzymes. So we talk about the building blocks, but the enzymes and probiotics particularly, they're the workers in the body. They're the only thing that does work. You have 25,000 different enzymatic processes inside your body. The probiotics fight your immune system. They run your brain. They make neurotransmitters. And we live in a world where instead of actually correcting those issues, we take medication. So if you've been on antacid pills like proton pumps, it blocks your HCl, which allows more viruses and bacteria to come in, and eventually your body will acclimatate to that. If you're eating a lot of cooked food, but you don't have enough enzymes, or you're feeling bloated, or you're gassy, or that sort of, chances are you're not breaking down your food properly. Or if you get really tired, the turkey dinner syndrome. If you eat and you feel that you're tired, your body's trying to produce enzymes to digest the food, and it takes it out of your brain, takes it out of your heart, takes it out of your other organs, and you don't recover as quickly, or you get tired. That's why people get tired as they age. And then finally, your microbiome. So most time when people get an infection or they get something wrong with them, what do? They go to the doctor and they take an antibiotic. Yep. Well, an antibiotic kills the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's about 10% good, 10% bad, and 80% opportunists. It's like 500 different types of probiotics in your body. And from those things, when you take an antibiotic, and most people have, and I'm not here to slam antibiotics, they've saved millions of lives, but the reality is what do I do after? How do I repopulate my bacteria levels? And that comes from eating fermented foods, and different people are going to respond to different foods. And we talk about it in a lot of our education materials about how to choose the right fermented foods a little bit, because every culture has had fermented foods. And then, or you can supplement your diet with probiotics, or specific probiotics that will rebalance your microbiomes. And that allow you to get your peristaltic contraction going. Oftentimes people who suffer from depression, often that has to do with probiotics. They don't have enough good bacteria to make the chains of biochemicals in their brain to make them happy and stuff. And so people don't realize how much happiness, stress, how much all of this is actually tied to their digestive system. And when you correct it, people are like, wow, I feel good. Wow, it's easy to stay on my diet. Wow, I don't need to eat as much food. Wow, I'm going to the bathroom like after every meal. And it's a transformational experience. So
you mentioned probiotics. Like I said, there's a lot of confusion around probiotics, prebiotics, and digestive enzymes. So what are the differences of those three things? Probiotics, prebiotics, digestive enzymes, and then like what do we look for? Because people, you hear different podcasts, even people are like, they don't work, it's pointless. And then some people are like, well, you should only get them from Whole Foods. And so there's a lot of confusion around there. So can we kind of dive into that a little bit and unmess the situation a little bit?
Well, first and foremost, just like a car mechanic, or just like any product, wine, if you're into wine or whatever you're into, there is a range of quality and performance in anything that you take. So I always say there's nothing more expensive than a product that doesn't work. And there's plenty of them that don't. There's lots of companies out there that manufacture primarily just because on profit margins. They don't really have an interest in helping people. So when you're looking at a probiotic, or excuse me, let's start with enzymes. And enzymes are required from everything from thinking to blinking. It's so massive what enzymes. It's funny. I took exercise physiology and nutrition. They only gloss over enzymes, but in order to get your food, in order to get your protein, in order to get your minerals, in order to get your vitamin, it all starts with an enzymatic pathway. So there's three main ones: lipase, which digests fats. Okay, there's amylase, which digests carbohydrates, and there's protease, which digests proteins. Most people are familiar with things like lactase. People who are lactose intolerant, lactase is an enzyme that breaks it down. And people know, oh, yeah, I can't have milk because I'm lactase deficient. Well, people are protease deficient is probably the biggest one that people have. And that undigested protein feeds bad bacteria. The bad bacteria creates these kind of toxins that pollute our brains, pollute our minds, make us get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go eat some ice cream. They can get inside our brains and make us eat foods that we don't need or don't want because they want what they want. When you get your bacteria good, so the difference between, so that's the enzymes. I'm kind of jumping around here. Sorry about that. But the enzymes, they're designed to break down the food in that first stage. The probiotics have a two-phase part, and that is number one, they're the defense mechanism for your immune system. They kill off the bad bacteria, they fight off other invaders, all that sort of stuff. And then the second part is they actually finish breaking down the food. So it's like enzymes are cutting the grass, and the probiotics are the mulchers, if you will. And that finishes and breaks it down to a smaller piece, and so that you can digest. So when people are looking for a digestive enzyme, I recommend that they get something that's about 50% protease. And proteolytic enzymes are much more expensive to produce. It's an elaborate process. They want cultured enzymes. Cultured are about 1,000 times more powerful than something you would find in a fruit or a vegetable, or like, papain or bromelain or something like that. And you can literally get what I call therapeutic results with them, especially in high doses. So that's what I did in order to recover myself. I took them at a high dosage for a period of about 90 days. And that was enough to reset my entire system. And from then, you just go to maintenance after that. But a lot of people don't take enough. They don't take the right ones in significant strength. And they should just line that for about, like I said, 90 days is typical to recalibrate your entire digestive system. And you can tell the difference. I mean, it's very noticeable.
Wow. Now, do you have any specific brands or products that you like to, that you recommend to people to use as far as the digestive enzymes?
Yeah, well, actually, what I did is when I got involved in this whole thing, I had a background in the nutrition industry. I worked in a store, and then I represented companies, and I got inside the back office of how these things are manufactured. And frankly, most companies wouldn't spend enough money to produce what I call a product that's going to produce a result. They get some enzymes in it, but it's not enough to do significant, and that's why people have mixed results.
Right.
So I went and hired the best scientists in each of these areas that I could, and build a bunch of product lines for myself.
Nice.
And then I would give them away in my clinic, and people start getting results. And then we ended up building a company, and so on and so on. So that was 14 years ago. And I think we're on our third version of the of our enzyme products called Maszymes, enzyme for the masses. And we have a patented probiotic, because the probiotic issue, and you're going to see this, there's a lot of mysticism out there. There's a lot of disinformation with the new Viome tests that are available, home testing. Most of the probiotics on the market actually don't work. But the fortunate thing is we actually proved ours in a patented process. We actually made a super probiotic, it's like a Superman probiotic that goes through a patented process to make it way more stronger than regular bacterias.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, so with your products, do you guys offer any recommendations along? Like you said, you had a certain kind of regimen that you put yourself through. Is that something that that people can access or get coaching, coaching from you on? How does that work?
Well, my background, of course, I was a personal trainer and a fitness coach for years and all that stuff. And so I'm a philosophy first company. In other words, we teach people the philosophy, the principles, the do's and don'ts, and the nutritional supplements is something you add into it. You can't supplement yourself out of a bad diet or a bad lifestyle. So what we do is for people who start with our company, we give away a course. I'll give away your course. It's called the Awesome Health Course, and you can get it at bioptimizer.com/MPM. So and basically it's a 12-week course, and it's 5 to 15-minute videos each one, and all the things that I learned in my 25 years to make my health better and the health of my client. We've coached over 15,000 clients. And you can watch it at your own pace, put it on your phone or you're sitting on your lunch break or whatever, and you get all the little pieces that I learned, everything from not just nutrition and enzymes, but water and rebounders and breathing exercises and all the weird things that I've been able to test and that work.
That is fantastic. And my audience knows that I am a huge fan of naming processes. Like I've got a process that I call the amazing results formula. So, I think we're kindred spirits in this, in this facet here, Wade. Now, so your awesome health system, is that what you break down in that free course?
Well, the one thing that I've noticed in people who are producing, so our whole mission of a company, right, is we want to end physical suffering by fixing digestion and activating awesome health. And so first people, they just want to get out of pain. They want to get out of the suffering. And so we teach that. But then we also say, well, once you get out of that, you go, well, what can I really do? How great can I be? And what I've found over the years of study is that there are 7 particular pillars that I feel that people can address and produce great results with either any one of these. So that's air, water, exercise, sunlight. I look at food as just condensed light, so that's a whole and frequency and vibration and stuff like that. So I look at food and nutrition and health through a sunlight perspective. Then I call optimizers. Optimizers are the nutritional supplements that I think people can benefit the most from because they optimize cellular function, which are enzymes, probiotics, minerals, vitamins, essential fatty acids, essential amino acids, and herbs. And then finally is M on the awesome formula. So you've got mental beliefs and attitudes. If you don't have the right mental belief and attitude, you're never going to get anywhere. If you got a great mental belief and attitude, you can do anything. And then finally is education, testing, and coaching. What are you learning? How are you? Because I found the people who do the best are the people who not just follow a program, but they immerse themselves a little bit in learning a little bit about what they're doing each and every day. So they might be learning about food labels. They might be learning about, different types of carbohydrates, or they might be learning about different types of breathing exercises or the types of water by constantly putting good information in. It makes it easier to do your program because your brain has a reason why you're doing things. And that's really critical.
Well, I think this is going to be a great tool for the audience. And I'll make sure that I put that specific link in the show notes. And for those of you that are listening in, you can get that in the podcast notes and in my blog. Now, Wade, I knew when we started talking about digestion, I knew it was going to, it freaks me out, but in a good way. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't understand it enough. And I'm like, oh, I know that I need this. And so I'm excited to dive into your course and go through that and learn more. So what, obviously diving into the course, that's a great first step, but even just a broader perspective of somebody wants to fix their digestion. They know that something isn't right. What are some of the signs of, your digestive isn't right? Obviously not having regular bowel movements. How often should we be having bowel movements? What's normal there? And then what are some other signs of poor digestion?
Well, it's great questions. Here's the thing. Really, it should be every meal that you put in, you should be going to the bathroom. And I bet you maybe 1 in 1,000 people are doing that.
Yeah.
That would be my experience. So I think the biggest thing is if you're experiencing bloating, gas, consistent gas, if you get any kind of cramping inside your intestinal tract or that sort of stuff, if you get sick a lot, if you catch viruses, every cold that comes by, you're sick a lot or you're sniffy or you're stuffed up a lot, if you're constipated, or you have acid reflux and heartburn. Any one of those areas is an indication that there's an aspect of your digestion that's off, and there may be multiple aspects that are off. So one of the things that I think the first thing people do is, obviously stop the offending products. Whatever's causing the problem, don't eat it. Right? And that's tough because that goes back to sometimes the psychology. We don't realize that we're driven to do things, for whatever, our brains are not as rational as we think. And sometimes we're driven to do behaviors or whatever, even though they might cause pain and suffering to us, because we've anchored something that, we deserve that, or something happens, or this is the way my family has always been. This is, we can't eat these type of foods, or we can't do that, or that sort of stuff. And now with the biology of belief, that actually activates various epigenetic nature stuff. So it's really interesting that our thoughts actually do control our body. So number one, I think the first step is, it's so boring, but it's so true, is people don't start the day with food, start the day with water. 3-4 liters of water every day, or quarts if you're in the States, I guess. That's probably the easiest way to improve your life.
Really?
It's so simple. Yeah, just drink pure water, good, the best water that you can find, whether it's spring water or ionized water or filtered, whatever it is, and add a bit of minerals and vitamins into it. And you know what, liquid ones, and number one, it gives you energy. Number one, it hydrates you. It cleans out your system. And when you do that, you just start going to the bathroom regularly. So I think, tea, coffee, sodas, all that sort of stuff, that stuff dehydrates you. And it really, really affects you negatively. So that's the first step, water. The second thing, movement. You got to move. And for me, I do deep breathing every day. So very few of us actually do deep breathing. So I learned some Eastern philosophy where I do conscious, deep exhales. And then I do actually a little stomach exercise. And I actually have it in the course where I actually show it. I bend over, and I'm pushing my stomach in and out really, really quickly to get all the peristaltic contractions, because we sit a lot. And because we sit a lot, what happens is we lose the connection to our peristaltic contractions. That's the muscular contractions that makes your food move through the system and for you to have a bowel movement. And when that gets impaired, food just sits there and rots. Imagine, think of the food you ate and let it sit out in a hot 97 degrees in a super moist environment. What's that going to be like after a couple of days?
I don't even want to think about it, Wade. That grosses me out, man.
Yeah, I know, but people don't think about this.
Yeah.
And it's really important. And what they don't understand is if you look at people who have heart disease and diabetes and stuff, and you look at their organs, you can see all the gunk and everything all in the organs. When you look at that picture, you go, that's what's happening in my body. And because we can't see it, we don't know it. But you can feel it, right? Acid reflux. If you got acid reflux, you don't have enough hydrochloric acid. You need HCl. You take a couple HCl pills a day and up your dosage and therapeutically until you get a burning sensation, and then you cut it back from there. And you stay at that for 30 days or 60 days. And guess what? Your body will re-kick in its hydrochloric acid program. So, nice. and you don't need the proton pumps and all that sort of stuff that they're giving you. So there's ways to reboot your system. I think that's really great. And if you're constipated, again, water is the first step. Number two, there's probably something off in your microbiome, or you're not getting peristaltic contractions. So you want to get on top of that, and definitely put more fiber in your diet. A lot of people don't have any fiber in their diet. Right.
So are there any specific foods that you recommend for people to, obviously the fermented foods, I hear a lot about kimchi, sauerkraut, pickles, things like that.
Yeah, we in all our courses, we talk about the various types of foods that you can get. And it's interesting because different types of people will be attracted to different types of food. Some people will like kimchi, other people will like sauerkraut. And that's just based on your genetics and what's right for your body and the probiotics your body needs. So you got to kind of experiment, find that stuff out for yourself. There's no right or wrong. It's just what's right for that individual. That's a big deal as far as having fermented food. So for me, it's really simple. I share with people, hey, you know what? Get up in the morning, have a smoothie. I like plant-based proteins, lots of fiber inside it, and then fruit and, or vegetables if you're sensitive to fruits. Just a nice smoothie so you liquid and hydrate, especially if people don't like water. Have a big salad for lunch. If you want to put some protein, whatever your protein choice, you can put that on it. And in the evening, have a reasonable meal, like, something like a little bit of carbs, a little bit of protein, a little bit of fats, and that's it. And have some healthy snacks around all day long. Real simple, just simple stuff. Apple, for me, I always carry apples and carrots and things like that around. I just crunch on that stuff because I'm a cruncher. I like to munch. And if I'm not munching on something good, I'm going to be munching on something bad.
That's how we all are. Now, water. You mentioned water. I've heard some conflicting views on whether you should be drinking water while you eat because of the whole HCl issue and diluting that and not digesting. So what's your take on water while you eat? Should we be drinking water while we eat? Should we not be drinking water while we eat? What's your point of view there?
30 minutes before will assist in hydrochloric acid production, right? So that's the way to go on that one. During the meal, what happens, it does dilute your enzymatic capacity and sometimes HCl. So it's best not to eat with meals.
Okay. So obviously, so I actually learned this fact from my wife. She's had some digestive issues, and she goes on, WebMD and all that, and that's where she found. So she was at the point where she was actually like almost choking on her food because she's like, I can't drink any water. So like a little bit's okay, right? Like just to drink just like if you feel like your throat is so dry, you're actually going to choke on your food.
But if that's happening, you need to address your hydration overall period.
Yeah.
And most people are dehydrated, and that's why they do that. So you want to just be conscious of carrying a water bottle everywhere you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was more of a personal question because I know my wife listens to the show, and she'll be ticked at me if I don't ask you that question. So thank you. Now I want to do a little bit of a pivot. You mentioned some of your vegetarian options. Now are you still living a vegetarian lifestyle? Is that the way you roll?
I although I don't like labels.
Right.
Because I just eat the diet that's right for me. And for me, I've been on a plant-based diet for a long time. I still go off every now and then, have a little bit of cheese, or I'll have some eggs and stuff on the road. So it's not like I'm not one of those vigilante vegans or anything like that. Right. So it's easy for me.
So I know there are a lot of misconceptions out there because you are super fit. You're in the bodybuilding world. Mm-hmm. So you don't see a lot of, I'm a vegan or I'm a vegetarian and a bodybuilder, because people think you can't add lean muscle.
Correct.
With that lifestyle, with that nutritional regimen. So how are you doing that? Like what's your personal experience there?
Well, the enzymes and probiotics that I use, the proteolytic enzymes and probiotics, allowed me to absorb and utilize much more protein out of my diet. And I do eat a lot less protein than most people, but my digestive system is so efficient, it allows me to easily build muscle tissue on that. So that's really how I solved that problem. It was like a personal bugaboo when I went down that road. You solve your own problems and then you just share what happened. That's really how it works.
Yeah. So like grams of protein wise, like what do you shoot for? Do you even keep track of that?
I don't measure it too much, but I can pretty much tell every day because I've been doing this for so long. Right. So for me, I never go below 75 grams. If I go below 75 grams for whatever reason, I feel it. And I very seldom go over 100.
Right. So what's your walk-around body weight at right now?
I'm about 195 pounds at 5'8".
Okay, so like top end would be about half a gram per pound.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
I mean, the advantage of higher protein diets, frankly, and I'll tell this why that works, and I've used those in the past, is that it takes a lot more energy to digest that protein. So there's a metabolic effect, and oftentimes for satiety, it makes you feel full. And a lot of people early on can benefit from a higher protein diet. And you have to realize I tapered down from high protein, a couple hundred grams, 250 grams a day down to where I am now. So that was a process. So sometimes some people mistake where I'm at from where I started. So I always tell people, eat enough protein that you stay satisfied.
So with the vegetarian choices, were those motivated by digestion? Are those like part of the solution that you have with more of a vegan or vegetarian lifestyle? Was that digestion based or was that lifestyle based?
No. It was, my business partner is a keto guy. He eats almost all meat, right, and protein and stuff. So, and that's kind of the beauty that works for both of us, our digestive process. No, it was just I read a book in India about how the nervous system works and how the body works, and I said I'm going to experiment with this plant-based vegetarian diet for a couple weeks, and then I said okay, I'll go a couple weeks more, and then I went 2 months, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm done, and never went back. So it's not like a big deal. It just kind of happened.
That's awesome, and I love that because there's so many options out there, and people get stressed out about it. And I love your just this is what works for me attitude, and that's why you do it, because it works for me, you know. And I feel like there's so many tribes out there like I'm paleo and everything else is wrong, you know.
Well, everybody wants to belong to some kind of group, you know. It's like, and that's always limits you, because your needs at 20 might be different than your needs at 40, and you have to stay flexible in your mind and in your life as you go through the different phases of life, and stay open.
So a second ago, you mentioned India. I want to hear the story about how you were attempting to become a monk, right? And you got turned away. So I got to hear this story.
Yeah. So I had a challenging relationship, and I really got into meditation and that sort of stuff as I was preparing for the Mr. Universe. So I kind of left the world, and I had been to India before and stayed at an ashram, worked there. And I said, you know what, I'm done with the world. I'm going to go be a monk. And that was all kind of planned, and they were ready for me, and I gave up all my possessions, and I did the Mr. Universe contest, which happened to be in India as well. And when I got done, I met up with the monks and I said, okay, I'm ready to go. And one of the monks says, no, you're meant to be in the world. You're going to do things in the world. So the ashram's not for you. And so I had this big plan, and then it all changed. And like this one little guy just told me, it was just like, I was so, it was interesting because I was so on it. And this one little guy just said this few little words to me, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, it was like he had so much power in his words, it just changed me in a second. So I was like, okay. So I still meditate. I still follow that kind of philosophy and stuff, but I'm in the world trying to make a difference to the best that I can.
That's awesome. That's a neat story. So with your meditation practice, what type of meditation do you do, and what does that look like? Morning, evening, throughout the day?
Yeah.
Give me some details there.
It's twofold. One is I do a morning routine where I do a deep breathing exercise, and then it's called Kriya Yoga, which was brought to the West by a guy by the name of Paramahansa Yogananda. He wrote a book, one of the great spiritual classics, called Autobiography of a Yogi, which was really great because it compared kind of Western Christian philosophy with Eastern philosophy, and actually showed the unification. He said, here's a process where you can have an experience of greater sense of awareness and your place in the universe. I'm like, okay, well, I'll try this, right? And so I tried it, and that's what I felt. It took time, and I could feel increase in peace, and I could increase in happiness and joy, and I just haven't stopped ever since. So that was like, almost 20 years ago now I started. So yeah, so I do that, and then also I followed another teacher, David Hawkins, which talks about contemplation. So I'll read after I do my meditation, I'll read a spiritual piece. From any writing. It could be an Eastern philosophy, it could be Christianity, it could be anything. And then I'll meditate on that for the day. Like I'll contemplate, I'll hold that in my thoughts for the day. Like, be kind and loving. Okay, well, try and do that all day. That's pretty tough, especially you're in traffic.
Yeah.
So it's a way of taking what you maybe were in meditation and then applying that to be a better person every day. And I don't always succeed. It's a tough process. So
I think it's a win just being present.
Trying.
Yeah, being mindful. I mean, so many people just blast through their day and they've got their blindfold on and it just, wash, rinse, repeat, same thing every day. So I think just breathing, stopping, and saying, all right, I'm going to be mindful on this, that's a huge win. So I applaud that. Now, so I want to make sure that people can get connected to you, Wade, and make sure that people know how to access. Obviously, I'll put the links to your course in the show notes and in the blog. But how do people connect with you on social media? How can they blast you some questions to find out more about you? What's the best way to do that?
Best way is go to BiOptimizers.com, MPM. And if you have questions, our customer service agents take those questions, and we have a list that we've answered. And if we haven't answered it, that question goes directly to me, and I answer it. So they can get me on the BiOptimizers site, they can email our site, they can call our staff. And I literally love that. Each and every week I go through my list and I answer those questions personally, because it's an honor to have an opportunity to help somebody. There's nothing that makes me feel better. All the money in the world doesn't replace when I get those testimonies of people transforming their lives. And that's why we did the course. That's why we're here our company. We fix digestion. And we want to end physical suffering and activate awesome health. That's what we're on a mission for. And there's so many people suffering needlessly. And that's why I'm excited to be here, because your million pound mission, when I saw that, I was like, man, this is such a cool thing. I want to be part of this too. This is awesome. I think what you're doing in the world is fantastic. So I thank you for that.
Well, Wade, you're a part of it now, man. You're just adding tools to our transformation toolbox. I'm excited to align our energy and work together. And like you said, just help as many people as possible. So that's going to be part of the deal. You're a part of this mission now. Now, one last question. I like to send my audience out thinking about action. I always try to be entertaining. I bring interesting people on like you to have interesting conversations, but I'm like, we have to leave with action and be thinking about how we're going to implement. So let's say somebody's motivated. They're ready to start fixing their digestive health or just getting their health kind of retooled and regroup and start moving forward in a positive direction, but they aren't sure where to start. Like, what's one or two just very simple, like, try this, and that's going to get you on the path to a better digestive system, better health overall? What type of advice would you give somebody in that circumstance?
I'll give 3 things.
All right.
Number 1, do not leave the house without a bottle of water. Drink water all day long. That's the key of getting lean and getting healthy. It really is. Number 2, I would say add some fermented foods to your diet every single day. So just like a little bit of sauerkraut. Try some of these foods. Find the one that's right. Add that to your dinner meal, just a little bit at a time. Doesn't have to be too much. And number 3, I would say find yourself a good enzyme or probiotic and take it each and every day.
Awesome. Well, Wade, I knew this was going to be a super interesting conversation. I think we came up with so many actionable steps, and I know it's going to inspire people to dig deeper, get into your course. Everybody out there that's listening, I want you to check out. I'll put the links again. You will be connected to Wade, and I want you to check that out. It's free, and it's going to help you. It's going to help you build momentum. So that's how we get out there. That's how we own it. Like I say, every meal, every workout, every day. I will see you on the next episode. Hey, good looking. How's it going? Before I let you go, see, I use the big, deep Adam voice for that one. That's because I'm going to hit you up for a favor, my friends. I need some help getting the word out there. If this episode struck a chord with you, if it made a difference, if the podcast is getting you fired up and motivated, there are 2 things that would mean the world to me. They help out so much. Number 1, if you could just share the episode out. I don't care if you text it to somebody or you share it on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Share it out. Let someone else know this is a podcast. It's a little bit different and it's making a difference for you. The second thing, if you could leave me a review wherever you're listening to your podcast, preferably in iTunes. If you're listening in iTunes right now, you can click on my emblem and you should be able to leave a review for the podcast, and that would be huge as well. So that's why I was flirting with you at the beginning. All right, let's be real. I was using the deep, sexy Adam voice to tell you how good looking you are and how thankful I am that we are connected. I'll stop using it. It's using my power for evil and not good. So thank you so much for the support. It's been really overwhelming. We're going places, my friends. This podcast journey that we're on, we're really making a difference. The $1 million mission is where it's at. So thank you very much. I will see you next time.